And we're back with more I Divine Cybermancy. Remember in the last mission when I said we were in New Eden? Well, I kinda lied. We were actually on the outskirts of New Eden. Now we're in the actual New Eden. Our mentor's here and he's going to give us a mission. The Federals spotted us, apparently, despite the fact that we saw none of them. So, what I say is, why don't we corrupt a Federal Colonel, and have him tell us what we need to know. The mentor likes that, and we get some XP. Now, you might notice that my stats are a little bit different. That's because my character actually got corrupted when I tried to restore him from backup after a failed recording of this particular mission. Completely my fault. I rerolled the character as similar as possible. And as promised, we're going to use the Bosco for this mission because, well, it's very fun to use a sniper rifle in a way that it's actually not meant to be used. We're also going to use the HS-1010 submachine gun as a sidearm, just in case we need to use something that has a little bit more rapid fire capability. Interesting thing, the language in I is actually a made-up language composed of Japanese and French. And noting the future that this is in, it kind of makes sense. So, shooting this wooden platform will break open that door and allow some eye reinforcements to come in, which could help out if there's a firefight around here. Though most likely they'll probably just get themselves killed, but not really our problem. So New Eden is quite a large map, and there are many ways to get over to that kernel. However, we're going to take the most stealthy one because it's also the one that you'd most likely miss. We're going to go through the sewers. The sewers can actually lead all over the map, but I've only actually memorized the route over to where the kernel is, or well, near where the kernel is. Basically because they're very large and they've got a lot of twists and turns, so. And we're just going to let ourselves drop down this ladder here. Very quick way of going down is just to let yourself drop and then grab before you hit the ground. You won't take any fall damage. So yes, you can walk all the way to the end of one of these things and wander around for 20 minutes, and eventually you'll find, I think, 4 or 5 other exits, which are in different spots around the city. Where we're going is a somewhat central location, but we're going to have to deal with a turret before we do it. Up at the top of this ladder there's a turret guarding a door, but it can actually see us when we pop up, so we're going to have to find a way to deal with that. Oh, and before we go any further, there were a couple frame rate issues due to fraps in this part. I apologize for those. I'm going to try to fix that for the next one. They're not very major anyway. So, there's the turret, and it can see us, and it most certainly can hit us. I meant to do that. And that. So the turret has higher stats than us, but I'm going to try to hack it anyway. It's possible to hack things with higher stats than you if you're lucky or very quick on the draw, but well, we'll see. Yeah, it's unlikely we're going to win this. Nope. Luckily the counterattack failed. So, I guess we'll do this a slightly more traditional way. Hide behind, and peek out, and oh! Yeah, the Bosco's got a little bit more of a punch than many of the assault rifles, so you can do stuff like that, where you knock over turrets. We're also not going to walk back out into the streets, we're going to take a path through an apartment building. Now, here's an interesting thing. The AI actually has very good line of sight in this game. It can see you through grates, so you do have to be careful. So yes, here I was just showing the new stats. They're a little bit... Oh, yes. I didn't realize that was a scrap at first. Tried to shoot for the midsection. They're a little bit different than before. I also didn't spend any skill points yet. We'll do a little bit of that later. Well, you might as well reload, right? I try to keep the same amount of clips on me if possible. I usually set a maximum for myself. Alright. Yeah, let's just put these guys down. And you can go down. And you can go down. The Bosco's large clip makes it possible to use this like an assault rifle if you know what you're doing. Which is quite nice, because the other sniper rifles in the game are a little bit less capable in this regard. Though the Bosco is the weakest of them, so I suppose that makes sense. And with minimal alerting and loss of life, we've come over here to talk to Lock-in. Yes, so I say I'm here for a little bit of an arrangement, and I offer him 2 million Bruzovs, which I assume is a large sum of money. And I say, yeah, just give them some fake information, and he says, yeah, I've got a reputation for being incorruptible, but that's only a reputation. Very moral person he is. Look at this little door over here. Mentor, that's not happening. We are definitely messing around before we come back. So here's a Manduko. He's not hostile, but he does sort of explain something about the story. I tried to get as much of this chat in shot as possible. He says he is stuck in the cycles of his own guilt. If he had gathered the 3 artifacts, he would not be here, etc., etc. That makes a little bit more sense later, and I'll explain it, don't worry. So we set the HS-010 to secondary fire mode and unleash 100 rounds into his body. Why? Because I'm just not a very nice person. So. Oh. Hello. That was unexpected. Okay. That part made me jump. Oh, you're gonna get... Oh. Yeah. I don't think I'm gonna let him get away. I'd much rather get a headshot and lose a little bit of health. Oh. Oh. Remember, always triple tap. Always mentally keeping track of that ammo number. Oh, hey, bro. Oh, would you look at that? And up here there is an invisible sniper. We're gonna see a lot more of these guys. If you notice that laser he was firing, those actually do a lot of damage. And they kind of mess up your view a bit, so those guys can get very annoying. The snipers also have Boscos for the most part. I think there's a couple with TRK ADs, but might not be. Yeah, we might as well use that. We need the health. Just making sure we're not getting followed or anything. And there's a random dead colonel over here. Probably got sniped by the eye guys now that I think about it. I suppose they weren't completely worthless after all. Interesting. So we're going to go get our first side quest. There are 3 NPCs in this area. There is Bubicon Chung, if I remember his name correctly, and that other federal cop guy whose name I never remember. Bubicon is completely worthless right now, and he just tells us that he's composing a pure gangsta melody, and that he's freestyling. We can't talk to Chung yet, Murphy. And Murphy is a federal cop who is not our enemy. He's going to give us a side mission. And despite the fact that it sounds like a trap, it's actually not. So if you manage to get through the entire conversation without telling him off and basically saying that you want to kill him, he'll give you an objective to hack the burner, which is over on sort of the opposite end of New Eden. It's not a very hard hacking objective, at least. That was one of the frame rate issues I was talking about. So we're just going to go back and see the mentor first, because he's closer. Want to shoot a rat, but do not want. So I'm going to put away the HS-010, just because. You know, I think this shotgun's probably a little more interesting. It's got a single fire mode and a fire both barrels mode on it, which is pretty good. So, our operation has come to success. Interesting. A double-crossing member of I has stolen a cyber brain, which we need back. Basically, it has compromising information on it. And, of course, we sort of might know where it is, and I suggest an alternative to talk to Chung. This is where Chung comes in. There are, I think, 2 or 3 different ways of solving this objective, and one of them is to talk to Chung. The mentor says he doesn't care what we do as long as it is a successful mission, so basically we're allowed to do whatever we want. We could just ignore Chung at this point, but why? We might as well go talk to him, see what he's got. Might as well conserve energy too, while we're at it. So, here's Chung. He says, "Oh, not you again, this can't be happening. Wherever I go these days, you and your mentor seem to pop up." And I said, "Bro, dude, I just need some help, it's okay." And I said, "Look, I can pay you good money for this." And he says that everyone knows this is Korea doesn't pay. I said, "Look, we can help you." And he says, "Well, we've been blocking his sex slaves from being imported." So I said, "Alright, fine, I'll talk to them. Just go kill this member of I and his federal buddies." And he sort of warms up to that and gets a little bit more enthusiastic about it. Probably because he doesn't like the federals or I, since he's a looter. He probably would have done it anyway, come to think of it. So, let's just... Yep. Also, if you notice the bullet hole behind that guy's head, the bullet went through him. Bullets do have penetration on bodies and sometimes on walls. I didn't notice that guy behind the objective marker. You can actually turn those off if you want to play it a little bit more, you know, Deus Ex styled, but I usually keep them on. Again, I meant to do that. I definitely didn't miss the C key and hit the V key instead. So, here's an easy hack. Oh no, how difficult. And there's a turret that actually has rockets. And in fact, this is where I screwed up the last recording of this mission. You're gonna probably want to know why I don't hack this. there's a very good reason for that. Well, first because there's a sniper over there, and he needs to stop living as fast as possible. And second, because this thing has such an absurdly high hacking skill that when I failed it the last time, my head exploded, I immediately died and got a fatal wound. So I was basically not pleased and attempted to restore the character. That's how we deal with turrets. So over here is another NPC, Harry. He basically just tells us about that Manduka we saw earlier. He says that somewhere there is a creature sitting in an underground passage behind a concealed door. I didn't really think it was concealed, but, you know. So I said, it doesn't really ring a bell, and he says, okay, I won't waste any more of your time. And I said, okay, I'll just take all of yours. So, anyways, this guy doesn't seem to care. Yeah. He can give us information about things, I think. Oh. Well, Chung just finished the job, and oh, well, that's a turret. And that's a turret. Perhaps there's an entrance over here somewhere? Not quite sure. If I had the sound triangulator, I'd probably just shoot it through the wall, but unfortunately, not available yet. Technically it is, but we didn't have enough money, or hacking skill, or endurance skill, or money to be able to pay for it. But don't worry, we'll get around to it. So, let's just see here. Both of those, bad idea. How about I just shoot this? When the turrets are on fire, they're actually stunned, which means that shooting at a turret, despite that it can't knock it over from certain angles due to the way the turret's balanced, shooting at a turret sometimes is a good thing. If you can keep it stunned, you can actually get up to them and throw them. So, the guy from I and his friends, etc. Normally I kill Chung and his buddies, but no. And now the mentor is mad at us. Why? And there's some of those annoying guys who are a little bit absurdly resistant to bullets, now that I think about it. And unfortunately, ouch. So we died, but that's not really a big deal. Where it says 9 resurrectors remain, that means we can get back up 9 times. However, we did get a fatal wound. Fatal wounds you can get by dying and losing all. They're more likely if you lose all your resurrectors or you have a low karma, which karma's, well, kind of hard to explain. If you kill your own guys, basically you lose karma. If you have a low karma, you get more fatal wounds. They impact your stats permanently. I don't want to say that they're completely permanent, but because you can get rid of them with an endgame research, but for now they're pretty much permanent. So I'm just going to use a couple of my skill points to get rid of the things that actually affect something, like the medicine, the hacking, and the accuracy. The psi and mental balance, we're not going to use psi, and having less mental balance sometimes is more fun. Going crazy is always interesting. So yes, you can lose stats permanently, kind of, but since the level cap in this game is, well, there is no level cap, and skill points are quite plentiful, and the game is more skill-based than it is stat-based, I don't really see that fatal wounds are that big of a deal. Just don't get them all the time. I definitely saw that guy when I looked around the corner. And look, right beside us is a Dodge Charger or similar looking car, I think. Funny how thousands of years in the future they're still making those. Ah yes, we didn't kill Walken, so let's just do that. That was a grenade that we saw flying there, in case you didn't notice. And down we go. My gun was bigger. Funny how all these Bosco clips are everywhere. You see, that was more what I expected to happen to the cloaked guy. You know, flying back about 10 meters and dying. But no. Apparently they're resistant to bullets, who knew? I just went the wrong way, don't worry about that. But we did learn that the restaurant's called McHack. I believe that's some kind of joke, but yeah. Anyway, we're going to talk to Bubicon again. He says exactly the same thing because there's nothing new happening with him yet. Chung says that we're not married. I guess he's just basically telling me to go away, but Murphy has a new side quest for us. So he says patience is a virtue, and I'm not too happy about that. So he says, cool, go sabotage these 3 doors. Oh, we'll go do it, I guess. There's money in it. And it'll allow us to see more of the city, and actually have a context to see more of the city, so that's always good. So we're going to put the package into the analyzer and then talk to the mentor. And he says that he's going to connect to the cyberbrain, and that's kind of against the rules, but I don't really care, so the mentor seems happy with that. He says something about a barman known to be an ally of the looters, and I said, okay, cool, I'll pay him a visit. And well, he might have information regarding the location of that actual cyberbrain that we're looking for. That was odd. Oh, well. Federal guy, there's some Manducos oh. I guess we'll just, you know, okay. I don't see how he could have missed them, but maybe he was just deaf or something. I don't think they discriminate against the physically disabled. They certainly don't discriminate against the mentally disabled. Oh, that was in bad taste. Okay, why is everything trying to assassinate me today? Even the door tried to kill me. Well, anyway, the bartender's name is Fonzie. And I talk to him and I say, look, you tell me where the cyberbrain is or I take yours out, and I'll find out. And he says, okay, if you want to know where it is, it's in the apartment, or talk to Bubicon, he'll tell you exactly where it is. And you gain 500 XP for taking that option. Now, unfortunately, I wanted to shoot up the bar, so I guess we're just going to have to do that. Okay. I would have thought he would have noticed being shot in the chest, but maybe the shock was just too much. So we're kind of close to those hacking objectives, so we might as well, go do them. Make sure there's nobody over there. Hack the pathetically easy city gate. Alright, we got one of them out of 3. Man, I should have tried to squeeze myself into that tube. I don't know why, I want to know if you can crawl through it now. Aha, and over here I also died on the last recording. However, I'm not going to let that little invisible guy get me again. No, sir. Oh, I guess he's just gonna leave us alone then? Oh, it's fine with me. I knew it. I knew I should have just shot him when I had the chance. Damn AIs. Why are there so many invisible people? I mean, cloaking technology has to be expensive. Like, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of, it would take, like, nanotechnology to bend light around a person in such a way that they'd still be able to see out of it, and to make it convincing enough that the human eye would actually not be able to perceive very much out of it. So, you'd think that would be expensive, but apparently they just give it to all the idiots. Although I suppose you could just design a material to do it, but yeah. Oh, over there is one of the other entrances to the sewer. And some allies just passed by. I think those are the eye guys we let in earlier, which would be surprising, considering that I expected them to die. Yeah, that looks like them. Again, I meant to do that. See, my legs got healed from it. I totally meant to do that. Did. And we gained some bruises. That's also the last of Murphy's missions. If you go back to him, he just mentions some one-liner thing like, get out of my face or something. But you do get a bunch of money off of him, so... Hey, those looters are shooting at my guys. Can't be allowing them to shoot at my guys. Wow, that's a lot of ammo on the... Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm glad I wasn't there for that. So there's also 2 apartment entrances. The one that we used before through the vent is the entrance number 2, but entrance number 1 is a little bit more straightforward, but also a little more interesting. So we're going to use that one. Entrance number 1, everybody. Shotgun a dude with a big afro. So since we didn't talk to BoobyCon, we don't actually have the exact location of the Cyberbrain, but... very unperceptive enemy. But we're going to look for it anyway. We'll just see if we can find it. If we can't, then we'll go over to him and take a look. Maybe he'll ask us to do something. Though I don't think he does. Okay, not in this room. What was that, you might be asking? Well, that's a Psyblast technique that all characters have. Funny I haven't mentioned that before. Basically it's a short-range knockback. I think it hits in a cone. It does actually a reasonable amount of damage, and if you're going melee class, and you have to use a gun, because most melee classes do have some kind of sidearm just in case, if you get attacked, that's actually one of the best things you can use, because if you have a high psi skill, it does very good damage. And it doesn't use much of your energy bar either. If you're going psi and melee, well, then it's just perfect. And psi and melee do complement each other. So, not in this room. And look at that. Why did... Okay. I guess I dragged my feet on the ground a bit. So I just sent all the Cyberbrain information over an unsecured wireless channel. That seems very stupid. Maybe it was secured. I don't know. How he didn't see me, A strange alpha prototype terminal, you say? And the Secreta just found out we looked inside the Cyberbrain. Well, if we're not dead, I guess that's good. And I'm out of ammo in that clip, and out of ammo in that clip. Well, good thing the mission ended. Yep. So, next time we're in the Temple HQ.